Zani is finally here to step on you if you don't stop doing overtime. She is an amazing DPS with some restrictions, and in this video, I will cover everything you need to know about her. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Starting with her kit. This section is gonna be huge, so grab your popcorns and make sure you don't sleep. Zani has two types of forte. One is called Redundant Energy and the other one is called Blaze. Zani has a 4-hit basic attack combo. After the third hit, she sits on a chair during which there's a small window where pressing the normal attack will perform a special attack called Basic Attack Breakthrough, which can be followed by the last stage of her basic attack. If we just keep pressing the normal attack button, it will not trigger this attack. However, it is not really used in our combos even though it generates a considerable amount of redundant forte stacks. It might be useful in some situations when intro is not available. Additionally, you can chain her mid-air attack, heavy attack and dodge counter with her basic attack stage 3, then follow it up with breakthrough attack and the last basic attack hit. When you hold a resonance skill, she deals an initial hit and raises her shield to enter a defensive stance. If she is attacked during this stance, the damage taken is reduced by 100%, meaning complete immunity. At the same time, she launches a counter attack, stagnating the enemies and reducing the vibration strength by 5%. For next 2 seconds, her damage taken is reduced by 30%. If you press the basic attack key while holding Zani's skill, she will immediately chain into a third basic attack and can again connect into breakthrough. All of the skills that I mentioned now, her normal attacks, resonance skill, both the initial hit and counter attack, and Zani's intro skill can increase redundant energy. After redundant energy is full, Zani's resonance skill is enhanced. Using it, Zani enters a stance where she charges her greatsword. It functions similarly to the normal resonance skill, also having a counter attack trigger. After getting hit, she consumes all the redundant energy, dealing a big hit and applying all the debuffs that a normal resonance skill does. If you release the key midway through the charge or if the counter attack is not triggered during the charge, Zani will still unleash an attack that deals the same amount of damage as the counter attack, but the additional debuffs are not triggered. Both types of these attacks, whether from a successful counter or a regular charge release, can apply one stack of Helical Ember to the target and grant Zani 10 points of Blaze, which is the 40-second energy shown on the lower bar. We will discuss more about this in a bit. After the last hit, Zani enters Sunburst state, which amplifies the Spectro damage by 20%. This is a great damage boost for Zani's damage in Liberation state. Now, let's talk about Blaze, her second forte stack. It is directly related to Zani's core damage output. Without using Resonance Liberation, the maximum limit of Blaze is 100 points. After using Liberation, it increases to 150. There are 3 ways to obtain Blaze. The first is through Enhanced Resonance Skill Attack that was just mentioned, which grants 10 points of Blaze upon activation. The second method is whenever other characters apply Spectro to enemies, Zani directly converts them into the same number of Heliacal Ember stacks. Each converted stack grants 5 points of Blaze. At the same time, the damage on the Spectro is immediately effective. This immediate effective means that the current number of Spectro stacks will instantly deal damage once. For example, 6 stacks of Spectro will immediately deal 6 stacks damage, convert into 6 stacks of Heliacal Ember, and grant 30 points of Blaze. The Heliacal Ember works as Spectro so it can trigger the Eternal Radiance buff. The third method of obtaining Blaze is using Resonance Liberation. When Zani uses Resonance Liberation, she deals damage and enters Inferno mode. The Blaze cap increases from 100 to 150 points and Zani immediately gains 50 points of Blaze. In a typical rotation, along with the 10 points of Blaze gained from the special Resonance skill, to fully charge the 100 points of Blaze, you generally need to convert 18 stacks of Spectro. Now let's calculate how much Spectro Phoebe and Spectro Rover can generate. For Phoebe, entering Confession state gives 1 stack, 2 heavy attacks give 10 stacks, and using Resonance Liberation gives 8 stacks, totaling 19 stacks, which equals 95 points of Blaze. For Spectro Rover, the Resonance Liberation can apply 6 stacks, the Enhanced Resonance skill can apply 2 stacks, and typically players can use it twice in one rotation, adding 4 more stacks. That is a total of 10 stacks, of 50 Blaze points. It is important to note that when facing multiple enemies, even if Spectro Rover's Resonance Liberation applies 6 stacks of Spectro to several enemies, and each is converted into Heliacal Ember, Zani still only gains 6 into 5, which is 30 points of Blaze. Therefore, excluding the 50 stacks from Zani's Liberation, with Phoebe you can fully charge 100 points of Blaze. With Spectro Rover, you can only reach about 60 points of Blaze, that is by using a normal rotation. I will mention a special rotation that you can use to gain max stacks even with the Rover. Zani's resonance liberation state, called as Inferno mode, lasts for 20 seconds, which is quite long. Along with increasing the blaze cap, it increases the multiplier of basic attacks. In this mode, most of Zani's attacks are enhanced. Zani's basic attacks completely change. She now does a 3-stage combo, heavy attack stage 1, 2 and 3. They have a fancier names like Daybreak, Dawning and Nightfall, but for simplicity we will just call them stage 1, 2 and 3. Each heavy slash uses a blaze. Stage 1 uses 10 blaze, stage 2 uses 20 blaze, and stage 3 Nightfall uses up to 40 blaze. If you don't have 40, it just uses whatever you have left. And here's where it gets interesting. For every single point of blaze you spend during stage 3, the multiplier increases by 9.95%. So if you have the full 40 points, it allows you to get additional 398% multiplier increase. Do note that this attack change occurs when her blaze is above 30 points. Besides this, her resonance skill is also enhanced. Holding the resonance skill button causes Zani to charge, and depending on how the attack is released, she does heavy attack stage 1, 2 or 3. Once the charge completes, she immediately unleashes the heavy attack 3, which has the highest multiplier. If you prematurely release the charge before it fully completes, Zani will perform the first heavy attack slash. If hit during the charging time, Zani will automatically unleash the second heavy attack slash. Additionally, during this counter-attack animation, Zani is invincible and applies debuff on enemies, stagnating them and reducing their vibration strength. The same hit can be triggered with dodge counter minus the additional debuffs. And after the stage 2 attack, you can change the combo with its last hit. Moreover, after activating Zani's liberation, if you simply hold the basic attack key instead of the resonance skill key, it also initiates the charge action. Upon using the resonance liberation state, pressing basic attack will automatically cast a resonance skill instead if no other action like dodge is done before it. And after 8 seconds or after the blaze is lower than 30, the resonance liberation icon will light up again, and casting it will deal a massive damage ending a liberation state. In short, if you still didn't understand, just keep spamming her heavy attacks and don't worry too much about all this info, just learn her combos which I will mention later in this video. Casting intro skill increases Zani's Spectro damage bonus by 12% for 14 seconds, and when in ready stance, all damage taken is reduced by 40%. In her outro skill, she deals damage equal to 150% of her attack and removing all stacks of Heliacal Emperor inflicted upon the enemy. Each stack increases the damage dealt by 10%. This damage is considered spectro-fragile damage. The spectro damage dealt by other resonators in the team to enemies marked by Heliacal Ember is amplified by 20% for 20 seconds. Moving on to her talent priority. Most of Zani's damage comes from her forte circuit, so it takes the top priority followed by her liberation, resonance skill, basic attacks and intro skill. Moving on to her echoes. The best echo set for her is obviously going to be Eternal Radiance, as this set gives a huge amount of spectro damage bonus and crit rate on hitting the enemies that have 10 spectro fragile stacks applied on them. And it also makes a Capitaneous Echo, which is a 3-cost echo available for Zani. This echo skill gives spectro and heavy attack damage bonus. With this set, instead of the usual 4-3-3-1-1 echo pattern, we will be using the 3-cost echo on the main slot, so the pattern will be 3-4-3-1-1. However, getting a Capitaneous Echo with desired stats could be challenging, so the Nightmare Morning Eggs in the main echo slot also works if you don't have a Capitaneous Echo yet. But with the new update, you can customize the main stat of the echo. For the echo stats on the 4-cost echo, try to use a crit damage piece as the set gives 20% crit rate. But if you don't have much crit rate from substats, you can use a crit rate echo too. Try to reach at least 70% crit rate with all buffs included. On the 3-cost echo, double spectro damage bonus, attack percent on the 1-cost echo. For energy requirements, try to get around 120% energy. Then from substats, prioritize crit stats, then attack percent, heavy attack damage bonus and flat attack. Moving on to her weapons. Her best weapon is obviously going to be a signature Blazing Justice, providing a good amount of crit damage. Its passive provides attack percent, ability to ignore 8% of target's defense and amplifies spectral fragile damage by 50% for 6 seconds just by dealing damage. Her second best option is Rochia's weapon, Tragic Comedy, which gives heavy attack damage bonus for 3 seconds on using basic attack. As Zani's combos include using a lot of basic attacks, this weapon is really good for her. The next option is Variety's Handle, acting as a crit stat stick. She can slightly benefit from the liberation damage buff. The standard banner weapon, Abyss Surges, is the best F2P option, providing ton of attack and energy regen. The craftable option, Legend of Drunken Hero, is another option for F2Ps that don't have Abyss Surges. For those who cannot craft it yet, Celestial Spiral is a decent option. You can also use the Stoneheart if you lack crit rate. Moving on to our team comps. One slot of Zani's team should be reserved to a Spectro Fraser applier no matter what, cause she needs it to gain her forte stacks. And the two characters for that role are Phoebe and Spectro Rover. Phoebe is obviously the best option, applying a huge amount of Spectro Frazzle in a short amount of time using her Confession state. Gives 100% Frazzle damage amplify with 10% resistance trade on outro as well as an extra 30% Frazzle amplification if you have a signature weapon. Spectro Rover is a replacement for Phoebe if you don't have her. However, they are a worse option. They can provide 10% Spectro resistance trade with their S6, but the damage is not impressive and the skill cooldowns are quite long. Plus, they don't give additional Spectro Frazzle buffs. Since Zani changes the Spectro Frazzle, it removes the shimmer effect of the Rover, making it difficult to reach 10 stacks for Eternal Radiance buff. However, there's a trick that I found that can overcome this problem and allow you to get maximum blaze stacks on Zani with the Rover. I will mention it later in the video. Despite being a worse option, Rover is completely viable for clearing through most endgame contents. For the last slot, you can use a sustain support like Shorekeeper, Varina or Baiji. As Zani deals a lot of heavy attack damage, Mortefi becomes a really great buffer for her. However, you cannot use Mortefi in a Zani Phoebe team as it means sacrificing a sustain support and the regenerating glow set. You can use it in a team with the Rover to make up for the loss of Phoebe's buffs. Before moving on to rotations, let's discuss our swap cancel windows. You can swap cancel quite a lot of her skills. You can swap cancel the breakthrough attack which has a bit long animation, then go back to her and do the 4th hit, but it is never really used. The charge attacks of her enhanced resonance skills can be swap cancelled. Do note that you cannot swap while she is charging. And in her liberation, you can swap cancel all her attacks, but the most beneficial one is the last hit which has the longest animation. Now let's move on to her rotation. Despite her complicated skill descriptions, her combos are fairly easy to learn. Our first step is to fill a redundant energy and get the buff and blaze stacks from a second resonance skill. We start with her intro, into her skill and third basic attack. This is enough to fill the first forte. Then use her enhanced skill, use it to counter or just tap it. Then use a liberation and after that you can basically keep spamming her basic attack button. If you want you can do some counter attacks by holding resonance skill or basic attack if timed correctly. Usually you can do 2 full combos and then a second resonance liberation will be available. Use it and outro to support and repeat. Additionally, you can do a double intro rotation, where after the sustain support, you intro to Zani, then switch to the sub DPS and intro back to Zani. These two intros will fill a redundant energy effortlessly. And now the advanced trick that I mentioned with Spectro Rover. The trick is to build as much energy as possible on the Rover, then start the rotation with Rover's Liberation into a heavy attack after tune and enhanced skill. Then intro to Rover into his enhanced skill, use the Echo skill, intro to Zani, do her initial rotation, and swap cancel the enhanced skill attack into Rover. By now, Rover's Liberation should be ready. Do a heavy attack after tune into an enhanced skill, then Liberation. The order can be interchanged depending on the cooldown. And with this, we have reached the maximum blaze stacks on Zani with the Rover. Lastly, moving on to our sequences. Her S1 provides 50% Spectro damage bonus and interruption resistance to the last hit of her heavy attack combo, offering approximately 20% more damage compared to S0. S2 grants a permanent 20% crit rate boost and the damage multiplier of her second resonance skill is increased by 80%. In her S3, while the 1200% multiplier on her second ultimate looks impressive, it doesn't provide much of a damage increase. S4 and S5 are stepping stones for the big increase for S6. It increases her heavy attack multipliers by 40%. It immediately restores 70 blaze if it drops below 70, letting you do more strikes and prolongs her rotation. Pulling recommendations. Even though Spectro Rover is perfectly viable, if you are looking for updates, I would recommend going for Phoebe as she makes her rotation smooth and provides a lot of damage buff while dealing good personal damage. After that comes her weapon and then her sequences or Phoebe's signature if you wish to pull them. Overall, Zani can deal massive amounts of damage with swap cancel windows and an easy to understand playstyle despite the complicated skill descriptions. As the damage is considered as both Spectro fragile and heavy attack damage, she can benefit from multiple buffs. Her biggest downside is that her teams are quite restrictive and the damage difference between a signature weapon and F2P weapon is massive. And that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe for more Wuthering Waves content. Thanks for watching.